Late one evening, Daniel sat alone in a quiet library, surrounded by books about the mind and the mysteries of reality. He had been thinking about a strange question that many people ignore. Can the human mind change the body without moving it? Most people think imagination is only a movie inside the mind, but Daniel felt it might be much more. He read about an unusual experiment. A group of volunteers learned a new finger exercise. They were split into two groups. The first group practiced with their hands every day. The second group only imagined, moving their fingers in their mind. They did not touch their hands at all. Weeks later, the results shocked everyone. The first group improved, as expected, but the second group, who only imagined the exercise, also became stronger. Their hands were almost as strong as the people who practiced physically. Daniel could not stop thinking about it. If imagination could change the body, then the mind might quietly prepare reality before it happens. He noticed that people spend most of their days imagining the future. Some imagine failure, some imagine fear, and some imagine doubt. What if those thoughts are training the brain for what will actually happen? If that is true, then the mind is constantly practicing the future without most people knowing. And the question Daniel could not ignore was, what kind of future are most people secretly training for? Daniel studied more about the brain. He discovered something amazing. The brain often cannot tell the difference between imagination and real action. When someone imagines moving their fingers or running, the same parts of the brain activate as if they were really moving. Even emotions respond. Thinking about fear can make the heart beat faster. Thinking about failure can make the mind tense. This explained why mental rehearsal works. Elite athletes and musicians use it every day. They imagine every movement in detail. Before performing, the brain builds the pathways needed to perform the action. But Daniel noticed a problem. Most people imagine fear and failure instead of confidence. Without realizing it, the brain trains itself to react with worry and doubt. Over time, these rehearsals become habits. The brain is always preparing for something, and the way people imagine the future may shape what actually happens. The deeper question appeared. If the mind constantly prepares for what might happen, can imagination guide reality in subtle ways? One day, Daniel attended a lecture about quantum physics. At first, he thought it would have nothing to do with the mind, but he listened carefully. The professor explained that at the smallest level, particles do not have fixed positions. They exist as possibilities until they are observed. Before observation, many outcomes are possible at the same time. Daniel felt a strange connection. The brain also imagines many possibilities before reality happens. Success, failure, courage, fear, doubt, all exist in the mind before action. If reality has many possibilities, and the brain predicts the future, could the mind quietly influence which outcome happens? The brain is constantly predicting, imagining, and preparing when a situation arrives. The brain follows the patterns it has practiced. Two people may face the same situation, but react very differently. One imagines failure and feels nervous. Another imagines success and feels confident. The mind acts as a quiet navigator of possibility, not by magic, but by preparing the brain and body to respond in certain ways. Daniel realized imagination is a rehearsal that shapes the self that enters reality. Daniel started noticing everyday life differently. Everyone imagines their future, often without realizing it. A student might imagine failing an exam. A speaker might imagine forgetting words. A person might imagine rejection before starting a new task. These thoughts repeat over and over. The brain treats them as training. It becomes skilled at producing whatever is imagined most. Fear, doubt, hesitation, all become easier for the brain to repeat. Even small thoughts shape reactions and habits. Most people unknowingly train themselves for negative outcomes. But the good news is the brain can learn new patterns. It can rehearse courage, confidence, and focus. The key is awareness. By choosing what to imagine, people can practice a better future. Daniel decided to change his own mental rehearsals. Before challenges, he stopped imagining failure. Instead, he visualized calm, focus, and success. He imagined every detail of situations he feared. At first, it felt strange. The old thoughts kept returning. But he continued daily. Slowly, his mind began to feel familiar with confidence. When real situations arrived, he no longer reacted automatically with fear. The brain followed the patterns it had practiced in imagination. Mistakes still happened, but fear was less powerful. The future did not magically change, but Daniel's mind was prepared, he realized that mental rehearsal is not about controlling reality. It is about preparing the mind to meet it, and preparation changes how reality unfolds. Daniel sat quietly, thinking about everything he had learned. Every mind is constantly rehearsing something: fear, doubt, hesitation, or courage, confidence, and possibility. Most people think the future happens to them, but the mind is quietly preparing for it. Every thought is a small training session. The brain strengthens patterns it practices the most. This is the quiet power of imagination. People can choose what to rehearse. They can imagine confidence instead of fear, calm instead of panic, success instead of failure. By practicing the right patterns, the mind becomes ready for the future. Reality responds to a mind that is prepared. Daniel understood this deeply. If your mind is already rehearsing the future, then the only real question is, what future are you practicing today?